Hello, everyone. Welcome to our latest CyCast, and we have an outstanding guest in Christina Hillman, a two-time national champion and seven-time All-American shot putter for Iowa State. Christina swept Big 12 indoor, outdoor NCAA titles in her amazing 2014 season, and Christina will now be an Iowa State Athletics Hall of Fame inductee in the class of 2026 this fall. Welcome to the CyCast, Christina.
Thank you. Honored to be here.
First question I got to ask you, what was your reaction like when Jamie Pollard told you the great news that you're going to the Hall of Fame?
Well, I did not expect him to pop on, so it was good to see a familiar face. I loved working with Jamie while I was there. He was always a great supporter of all of the sports, but especially track and field. I feel like we were lucky that we had an athletic director who was so committed and supportive of track and field in general. So it was such an honor. I did not expect it to be this soon. So the fact that I was voted in 10 years out means a lot to me. And of course, I love my school. I love Iowa State. I even wore my Iowa State Scholar Athlete shirt for this. So overall, it's an honor and a joy. Yeah.
Well, you deserve it, Christina. I guess I want to start from the beginning. Growing up in Delaware, how did you get interested in the shot put, and not just shot put, obviously other throws as a kid?
Great question. I didn't know what shot put was until last day of school, my 8th grade year.
Wow.
My gym teacher's husband, who was a hammer thrower, a prolific hammer thrower, actually, he saw me throw a football on field day and somehow made the connection that I could possibly be a decent shot putter. So he approached me, said, "You know what? You should try the shot put in high school." I said, "Okay, I have no idea what that is."
Yeah.
But I decided to give it a shot, literally. Joined the track and field team at my high school, very small. I went to a very small high school, St. Thomas More, which unfortunately doesn't even exist anymore. We had a track and field team of, I believe, six students. My class was 67 graduating.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
we did not have a track. We did not have a lot of facilities to use. We actually had to travel to a nearby school to practice, and I didn't have an official throws coach. So it was a lot of trial and error. My dad was a great help. We would look at YouTube videos. We were just kind of trying our best, like taking it one step at a time. And it was a lot of happy accidents, hard work on both of our parts, but also I didn't have a lot of direction until last year of high school when I got connected with a fantastic throws coach, Barry Swanson, and he really helped me take my career off then. So,
Well, you were a seven-time state champion in the shot put. Is that correct? In high school?
yes.
Okay. Well, obviously something was going right. So, I'm just assuming that you had a lot of schools to look after you to compete in college, and not really. So how did Iowa State get Christina Hillman?
That's where Grant Wall comes in. I owe so much to Grant Wall. I'm excited to tell him about it too. He was the coach who recruited me to Iowa State. And my numbers were not even good enough to be a walk-on. It's like starting my senior year of high school, my numbers were not good at all. I believe the farthest I had thrown the shot put was 39 feet. And in small town Dover, Delaware, and small state Delaware, that was enough to win me state title championships. But on a collegiate national scale, not even close to anywhere good. So Grant Wall came out, visited, actually saw me in my volleyball practice. I did volleyball and track and field throughout high school. And he saw a lot of potential in me. I think he saw my height. I think he saw my athletic talent and said, "You know what, willing to take a risk. If she can throw 39 feet with not really any coaching, doing it almost completely wrong, according to him, then she can throw a lot farther with the right direction." So he took a chance on me. He really did. No other schools were looking at me. No way. He's the one who got me connected with Barry Swanson, the coach I mentioned earlier, who was training throwers up in northern Delaware. I was not aware of him until Grant mentioned him. So Grant connected me with Barry, and 6 weeks of training with Barry took my 39 feet to 48 feet. And I came out of nowhere and won high school nationals my senior year.
Okay. Well, obviously your transition worked, because it didn't take you very long to start excelling at Iowa State. But how hard was that coming from, a smaller high school into Big 12 track and field?
Mm-hmm. I remember being awestruck and incredibly excited. I loved throwing. I loved sports. So for me, it was just such an incredible opportunity that I just remember being like, wow, I get to do this. I am so privileged that I was recruited here to Iowa State, because I did fall in love with it as soon as I visited. I felt like it was where I was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I approached it with such a determination and optimism in a way. Maybe naive, because maybe I really didn't know what I was getting myself
Yeah.
into.
Well, I mean, already in your second season, I think this is correct. In your second season, you finished runner-up in the NCAA Indoor. Is that correct? I think it was your second year, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes,
mean,
sophomore.
like, how much confidence did that give you heading into what arguably is one of the greatest shot put? Well, it is the greatest shot put season in Iowa State history, but at the time, it was like you were was one of the best in NCAA at the time. But how much confidence did that give you when you got second in the indoor?
Oh, it was a huge jolt of confidence. In fact, I remember leaving thinking to myself, I didn't win. And then it occurred to me, oh, I felt like maybe I could have won. And
Yeah.
that was an epiphany in itself. So that was one of the first moments where I thought to myself, okay, no, I'm glad I got second, but I think I can do better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously throwing the shot a long ways is a complex skill. And I'm assuming there's obviously a lot of physical, you got to be strong, but there's probably a lot of mental as well. What are the contrasts between those two, throwing the shot that far? Because you got to have confidence in every throw, right?
Right. And obviously, you have to have both mental and physical capabilities. You can't underestimate how important it is to
Yeah.
have that fortitude mentally. So I would say a lot of it, I could rely on the fact that I had put in the hours, put in the work. Like, I had evidence to suggest that I was doing what I needed to do. I had a wonderful coach, Fletcher Brooks, a program I believed in,
Yeah.
uh, working tirelessly, hours a day. I would spend 3 to 4 hours, almost 5, 6 days a week at Lead Recreation Center. So I at least had those reps in, the knowledge that I'm doing what I need to do. And of course, that helped boost my confidence as well. But I used a lot of imagery. I used a lot of calming techniques, it's an odd mix of trying to stay calm, but also
Yep.
get excited at the same time, an interesting balance. So it was definitely a mix of physically preparing, but, imagining myself in the situation as well.
Well, Christina, whatever you were doing, it worked. And your 2014 season will go down in history books. You won both indoor and outdoor Big 12, and you won both indoor outdoor NCAA titles in the shot put. I guess I want to ask you about your first national title in the shot put, which was at the NCAA Indoor, and
Hmm.
you hit your personal best on your second throw at 59.6 feet.
Hmm.
And coming from 30s in the 30s, and only like what, 2 years prior, 3 years prior, what do you remember from that first national title when you were on the stage number one?
I remember thinking to myself, no one wants this more than me. And maybe that sounds pompous, but in a way, it was like a way of me getting ready to prepare to
Hmm.
throw my best ever, was reassurance to myself. I want this more than anyone. I can do this. Um, and I remember in the meet being very serious, like no nonsense, really trying to focus and hone in. And once I hit that throw, I knew it was a good one. Still try to better at that meet. It wasn't
Yeah.
like I threw that and I was like, oh, I'm safe, because no, I had great competitors and I really had to keep pushing. But I also remember the reaction I had there, because I remember some teammates were there watching me, some others that had made it to the national meet in Albuquerque, and they all immediately started hooting and hollering when
Yeah.
when it hit the ground. So even before they measured it, I knew it was something big.
Well, let's fast forward 4 months later, and you're at the NCAA Outdoor, and that's at famed Hayward Field in Eugene, Oregon, and you won the NCAA outdoor title. And correct me if I'm wrong, Christina, you won it on your final throw, I
Mhm.
think, and it was a school record 58-2 in the outdoor. I mean, how tense was that competition right to the end?
Oh, incredibly tense. Also, unfortunately, I had been suffering from some back pain, and the support I had was phenomenal. Fletcher Brooks took me to make sure I had everything I could to prepare to be physically fit for the competition.
Yep.
So I remember getting massage therapy, working with the athletic trainers, trying to ready myself physically and mentally, because it's hard when going into a competition thinking, oh, I'm hurt. You don't want to feel that way.
Yeah.
Um, and goodness, we we had some really good fun that meet, because I'm pretty sure we went back and forth, and I was not in first going to my last throw and finally clinched it on my last throw. So the amount of relief I had was
Yeah.
fantastic, but I wasn't the last thrower. So I remember throwing my best then, but then there were two other throwers after
Yep.
me. So I'm like, well, I've done what I could do. If they pass me, then they were the best competitors today. But I was on the edge of my seat too.
Yeah. Well, obviously they didn't pass you, and you got your second national title in the same event in the same season. You had two, and you're only one of two cyclone women's track athletes to sweep both NCAA Indoor in the same event in the same season, joining the legendary Lisa, Cole Ewell. How
Mhm.
special is that accomplishment to have on your mantle?
Unreal. It still feels unreal even 10 years later, because I can remember, I can put myself back, but even then it's you can't really recreate that moment. Cloud
Yeah.
nine doesn't even begin to describe it.
So in the summer of 2014, you had an unfortunate weightlifting accident.
Hmm.
And in it, obviously, you caused some problems in your back for I don't know, for the most of your career, probably for the remainder of your Iowa State career at least.
Right.
How tough was that to battle back from?
It was, I'll be honest, it was very depressing to go through something traumatic as a severe enough injury to cause
Yeah,
excruciating pain. I
yeah,
remember having radiculopathy, so had disc herniations in my low back, burning pain down my legs that interfered with my sleep. So not only was I not able to compete the way I wanted to, but I was dealing with significant daily pain.
yeah,
Again, I had wonderful support, great facilities to use. I remember using like traction at Iowa State. They got me to pain management. They were doing everything they could really to help me out. So I'm very grateful for that. But it was definitely fighting an uphill battle afterwards.
yeah, yeah,
And I still wonder even now if I could have done better than I ended up doing. Maybe if I had a better mental outlook. It was hard at that
yeah,
time. Hmm.
yeah. And I'm sorry to bring that up, Christina,
Oh,
but
it's okay.
was also showed you what a strong competitor you were with all the rehab and the fight you were doing to get healthy. You battled back your senior year and won the Big 12 indoor.
Hmm.
I'm assuming that was probably one of your just as proud of an accomplishment of winning NCAA titles, and that meet was incredible. You're going back and forth with I think it was Dana Wint, I'm sorry, Danny Winters from
Yeah, so
Kansas
much
State,
fun. Oh,
just going back and forth, and you end up beating her on your final throw, and I think it was 58-10. I mean,
mhm.
where do you rank that? Because a lot of people probably wrote you off and said that you were never be able to be on the stand again.
That listen, I don't think anything compares to my national titles, but that was it's got to be up there. And actually, that was the meet where Jamie was there.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that was the one where I got to hug him and give him a handshake after the meet because he was watching and cheering us on. And to come from behind like that after my injury and still come through, it made me feel like a true competitor again. I
yeah,
was so excited and so happy, so relieved. I
yeah,
think at a certain point, once you get those accomplishments, people do expect a certain amount of you, including like I was the one on my
sure.
hardest on myself. So yeah, it was a really fun moment, and the energy in lead was just unmatched.
Yeah, and that was cool to have it at Names, Iowa, wasn't it
Yeah.
too? Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, Christina, for how decorated you were in your athletic career at Iowa State, which was off the charts, you were just as just as amazing and decorated in the classroom. I mean, multiple COSIDA academic All-American, COSIDA track and field academic All-American of the year, and you're an NCAA Woman of the Year finalist. I mean, how proud are you of those accomplishments that you did at Iowa State? All the hard work that you put in as a student.
Yeah, I love being a well-rounded athlete. I was committed to my studies. I would say, even looking back now, I think I was still, it's hard to say, but most committed to my athletic, journey. But that is to
Yeah.
say, I was also wanting to do my best in all facets. So, doing well in school. And I think being an athlete gave me some really great time management skills. I mean, I was in the classroom probably from 8 a.m. till 2 p.m. most days, but then I would be at practice from 2:33 to almost
Yep.
7. You have to find time. You have to create a good schedule where I could still finish my homework on time, my assignments, study. Even on bus trips or airplane trips to different meets, I would always be doing some sort of schoolwork. I would always ask in advance for what I could work on to make sure I didn't fall behind. I was very proactive with my professors, and I think they appreciated that. And I also loved like volunteering. That was a lot of fun too. I remember my senior year, I was an intern at a rehabilitation facility for adolescents struggling
Yep.
with mental health and drug addictions, and that was some of the most rewarding work I ever did. So balancing that with also academics and athletics was a challenge, but I feel like I thrived pursuing my passions.
Yeah. Well, and then when your career got over with at Iowa State, Christina, you stayed on staff as a GA for what, 2, 3 years? Is that what it was?
Yes, yes.
How
Mhm.
much fun did you have on that side of it, being a coach, and which was obviously a huge change in your life because you were always on the other end of it. Now that you're a coach, how much fun did you have doing that?
Oh my God, it was wonderful. It gives you a better appreciation for the sport because not only was I was still training myself, I was still
Yep.
trying to throw post collegiately, but I love giving back. I really do. So I loved doing what I could to give pointers, kind of give back to the sport that had given so much to me. Working with Fletcher was a lot of fun, and supporting the athletes, even though I wasn't competing with them anymore, wanting to be, a rock for them and someone that they could rely on, someone that they could go to for advice or encouragement. So again, even after I graduated, I was still training, I was working full time and volunteering as a coach. Seems like a lot, but again, I felt like I was in my element.
Well, Christina, we can't thank you enough for joining us on this CyCast. And last question I got to ask you: how excited are you to come back to Ames this fall for your Iowa State Athletics Hall of Fame induction?
I can't wait. I am so excited. And I just hope that, you know, I don't know who else would be able to come, but to have my coaches there, my former teammates there would mean the world to me. But no matter what, I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait to be back.
Well, Christina, thank you so much for joining us, and we can't wait to see you this fall. It's going to be an amazing weekend, and you most definitely deserve the honor. So thanks again, Christina.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for setting this up.